Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to unpack a really profound and honestly, a kind of unsettling idea about who you think you are. It's one of those concepts that once you really get it, you can't quite unsee the world in the same way again. So let's just start with a super direct question. Right now, at this very moment, who is it that's actually looking through your eyes? Who is the you that's watching this? It seems like a simple question, right? But stick with me because the answer is probably not what you think it is. All right, to get to the bottom of that, we first have to talk about a concept we all just completely take for granted. It's this idea that there's a little person, a driver of sorts, sitting inside our heads and running the show. We call this the observer. It's this deeply installed belief that there is a manager, a witness, somebody inside our skull sitting behind our eyes, just watching the world unfold like it's a movie. It feels completely obvious, doesn't it? Of course, I'm in here, looking out there. It feels like the most basic fact of being alive. And certain activities really drill this idea into us. Take photography, for example. The camera is the perfect tool for this. It turns that internal observer into a hunter. Suddenly, reality isn't just something you're a part of. It becomes prey, something to be stalked and captured. The moment isn't just experienced. It's got to be seized, frozen, and owned. But here's the twist. This observer, it isn't a fact of nature. It's actually a story, a really, really powerful story we've been telling ourselves for a long time, and it has very real consequences for how we see and interact with everything. That's because the observer isn't a biological reality at all. It's a cultural artifact. It was most likely born from language itself. You can almost think of it like a piece of software that our culture installed in us, maybe to help keep the whole machinery of society running smoothly. And believe me, this belief has massive consequences. I mean, once you have a separate observer, a you inside that's separate from the world, everything else just falls into place. You get the idea of ownership, this is my photo, authorship, that was my idea, and of course, constant judgment. This is good, this is bad. And finally, extraction, this non-stop need to pull something valuable out of every single experience. But this is where we find the crack in the story. This is the part that, if you really lean into it, can fundamentally change how you experience, well, everything. So I want you to actually try this right now. Seriously, look for it. Look inside for that central manager, that fixed point who is doing all the looking. Can you actually find a concrete thing, an entity, or does it kind of vanish the moment you really try to pin it down? See, what we believe we have is a central command center, right? A CEO in the brain. But what we actually find when we look, it's something completely different. It's just sensations, thoughts, impulses, not a single solid thing, but what's been called a turbulent ecology of processes, all just bubbling up and dissolving incredibly fast. So here's the crucial point. The observer is just a user interface. Yep, that's it. It's a handy fiction, kind of like the icons on your computer desktop. It helps a ridiculously complex organism, that's you, navigate a ridiculously complex world. And look, it's super useful for things like paperwork or writing emails, but for raw, unfiltered perception, it's catastrophic. It gets in the way of everything. So what happens then? What happens when this user interface, this deep, ingrained illusion of a separate self, actually begins to stutter and fade away? This usually doesn't happen in our normal, busy, structured lives. Let's be real. It happens out in the wild, so to speak, when you're in the face of some overwhelming weather, or in deep, deep silence, or during long stretches of time where absolutely nothing is demanding your attention. It happens in places where there are no mirrors to keep reminding you who you're supposed to be. And in these rare moments, that internal narrator, the voice that's constantly labeling everything, oh, this is good, I'm bored, this might work for a photo. It just starts to run out of steam. That constant commentary just dissolves. And you'd think what rushes in to fill that space would be chaos or confusion, right? But it's not. What replaces it is bandwidth. It's like your entire perceptual field just cracks wide open. You can suddenly take in so much more of what's actually there because you're no longer filtering it all through this constant, tiny stream of judgment. And this is the profound shift. The feeling of being a small point located somewhere behind your eyes, it gives way to a more distributed awareness. The landscape isn't out there for you to look at anymore. You are inside of it, just another part of the same big, amazing field of forces. So this brings us to a really radical, totally new way of thinking about creativity and our relationship with the world, especially when it comes to an act like taking a photograph. Now, if you're actually trying to operate from this state of widened perception, the discipline required is ruthless. Because to assert yourself, to decide to take a picture, is to reinstall that observer at the exact moment it was dissolving. So the goal, weirdly enough, is to wait. You wait until there is no one left to take the picture. And here's the beautiful outcome of that kind of patience. In that moment, photography stops being an act of taking something, of possessing a moment. It becomes something else entirely. It becomes a trace, like a fossil, of a moment when that fiction of being separate from the world just briefly collapsed. And the most crucial point here is that this isn't some mystical, unattainable state of enlightenment. It's not about transcending your body or anything like that. It's actually way more accessible. It's simply a glitch in the story we are constantly telling ourselves about who we are. So the final thought is this. What happens when there's a glitch in the matrix of the self? Well, reality, unfiltered and raw and amazing, pours back in. The question this leaves us with is, are we willing to let go of the observer, even for just a moment, to really see what's on the other side?